Welcome to the Beyond Divorce Embracing Change podcast. My name is Michael Flores, and I will be your host while we explore the complex journey of divorce with empathy, insight, and practical knowledge. Whether you're contemplating separation, in a divorce, or looking for support post-divorce, our episodes provide expert guidance, stories, and strategies to help you through every step of the process. We are actual therapists, helping clients who sit on our couches every day through their difficulties of divorce. You are not alone. Join us as we delve in and find solutions that give you hope again. We're glad you're here.
This podcast is not intended to replace legal or personal help. This podcast is for informational purposes only.
Tested. Okay. All right. Everyone, thank you for being here. Can't thank you enough. We have actually, Armando, just so you know, we have literally went to the 1,000 mark of
people listening to us?
Yes.
That's exciting.
But here's the funny part. As soon as we hit 1,000, now we're almost at 2. It literally went from boom, boom.
Everybody keep listening, please.
We love it. We
That's
love
exciting.
That's what we're here for, right? We're here to help. So love it. Today's episode with you, Mr. Armando, is when you always feel like you're rescuing your co-parent.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So let me tell you a little bit, Michael, why this topic came up. Over the last, I want to say couple months or so, this is something that I've heard a lot of parents talk about, kind of rescuing the other co-parent, feeling like, well, what do I do? If I don't do this, the kid suffers, and then now they're stressed out about it. And so it really ties into, I think, what was discussed with the drama triangle in terms of the rescuer.
Yes.
So, if you want to kind of briefly talk about that part of it.
I will. Before I do, yes, okay. The rescuer. Those of you who have not subscribed to our podcast yet, we would love for you to do so. And you can find us on pretty much every platform, now on YouTube as well. And YouTube, we also have videos. You can watch us do this, which is really kind of fun. Yeah.
Something.
Yes, something. Is that what you said?
Yeah, something.
Okay. So feel free to look out there, find us on whatever platform you like, but please subscribe so that you can get the newest material. We put out stuff every week, so that way you can stay up to date with what we're doing. While you're there, if you can please leave a comment, rate the show. We want to continue to expand this as much as we possibly can. So please rate, please share this with others. We would just ask you to do that for us. So that's what we're asking. Thank you for everything you've done so far. Before we start, though, Armando, remember, I think, if I remember correctly, I've been told there was a question. And the question's actually on the other side of this page. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
And so we are offering people to ask us questions so that we can answer them on some of our shows. You can find those in our links, so you can ask questions there. And then we pull the question and we answer them on a show. So let's answer a question.
Let's answer a question. Let's go. Is it on back of mine too, or just yours?
I think it's mine. Okay. Drum roll, answer, boom. Ooh. What do you do when it feels like your ex is trying to control everything?
Oh, which kind of goes into what we're
something?
Talking about, what we're going to talk about.
You want to
Did you plant this question?
Dude, that's the first time I've seen it. Does it look like my handwriting?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
What do you do when you feel like your ex is trying to control everything? Oh, that's a good question.
Like what to do?
What to do? I think part of it is first stepping back. I think that's the very first thing you need to do. Right? Because when you don't step back, you fall into it and you end up becoming, again, the villain. Right? You jump into not being collaborative. You get defensive.
Yep. So I'm going to write that down. Can I answer too?
Go ahead. Please.
The step one, you have to understand when you sense that someone is controlling, what they're really telling you is they're afraid. So you have to understand that if you feel like your ex is trying to control everything, your ex is afraid of something. And the more that you try to understand what that fear might mean for them or what that could be, and truly being an authentic person to understand, not to use it against them, because that's probably what they're going to think you're doing, that's how you can learn how to help. So people are less likely to control when there's securities built into them.
Because there's no need to. I feel secure, I'm comfortable, I don't need to do it. And I think that's the step back part, is that you don't act out of fear. Because then you do the same thing, and then it becomes you're trying to control, they're trying to control, and it becomes a tug of war.
So instead of acting out of fear, what should they do?
I think that's where they step back, kind of think about, okay, what is actually going on, right? Where can I be collaborative with the co-parent?
Yeah.
Because that's the goal, right, is for the child.
You know what I've learned to do with people who are really controlling? Just ask them what did they want that to look like.
See, I just ask them, like, what are you afraid of?
Well, you can, because they truly are.
Mm-hmm.
That's what control means, right? So you can say, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid will happen? Or you can say something like, what are you hoping will happen?
So usually I'll ask that question. I'll ask, what do you hope is going to happen out of this? Or what do you hope, if this solution is figured out, what do you hope it looks like on the other side?
Yeah. Yeah. I get this, you can even say it this way. I get the sense that there's some controls that need to be built in here for you to help you feel more secure about this. What does that need to look like? It's almost like you can speak to it. Right. You don't say, you're so controlling. It seems like there's some securities that need to be seen. Now listen to the word.
Some securities.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be some securities built in here so that you can feel comfortable about doing this.
Right.
What do you hope that could look like? Now you've started a collaborative conversation.
I think the boundaries is important, because I was thinking about this morning, actually, when I was walking my dogs, and I was thinking about kind of control and making children, when they have to talk to their parents, giving them some rules or some say in how the session's going to look, so that they feel like they're in control, because they come in scared, right?
Yep.
These adults are going to gang up on me. And other co-parents probably feel the same way. If we're doing a parent session and they come in, kind of giving everybody the floor of saying, well, what do you want to get done today? Right? You give everybody that sense so they have that security, so they're not acting out of fear.
Yep. Okay, so here's what I'm going to tell you, listener, on this question, just because we just talked through that, and I'm going to make it easy. Step one is step back, right? Take a step back for a second. Whoa, back up. Remember that control is fear, and ask the other person what they want things to look like. When they're in control or they feel like they're controlling, let them. What would you like that to look like, or how are you hoping this could happen? The more that you take an interest and become curious, the more you'll learn about what's really going on, and that's how you can actually support. Make sense? And the more that happens, the less they become afraid, because you can't take away fear. You can only increase confidence. Let me say that again. You cannot take away fear. You can only increase confidence. That's how you can increase the confidence in them, is because you became curious, not defensive. When they become controlling, I have a feeling you become defensive. When you become defensive, they become more controlling. So you blame their control, and they blame your defense. That's really how this works, don't you think?
And then it becomes a cycle if you don't do that.
Yep, and that's the part we're talking about with the drama triangle, where you either can become a rescuer, or the heroes and villains talk we had, or you become a villain in the process when you're really just trying to help. All right?
Yep.
So ask questions. All right, cool. I hope that helps you. That's a good question.
That was a good question. It's a really good question.
Yeah.
I mean,
I hope we get more.
That's a podcast episode on itself, really.
Well, we already spent like 5 minutes on it or something. So that's okay. You know what? They asked, we wanted to deliver.
That's what we're here for.
Perfect. Let's get into this. This is going to be fun. Okay, so back to this. When you always feel like you're rescuing your co-parent, you asked me to talk about the rescuing side of the drama triangle.
Briefly, yeah. Just to kind of remind the listeners.
Yeah, so listeners, there's 3 parts of the trauma triangle, right? There's the rescuer, there's the victim, and the persecutor. The rescuer is the person who comes in as almost like the hero. And they come in, and they are going to come in like, I'm going to protect, oh my gosh, this is going to sound bad, but in our current political climate, we have 2 candidates that are saying they're going to rescue. And some people think one's full of crap and the other one's honest, and the other one, it's just a mess. But the point is, they're both coming in saying, I'm the guy, I'm the person. I'm the guy, I'm the girl, I'm your person. Someone posted on Facebook, and I stole it. It said, I feel like we're watching a divorce and figuring out which parent's going to get custody of us. Like with the politics. And I laughed because I was like, gosh, that hits home, doesn't it? Just like, this is what it feels like.
Because you can only say so much, and it goes off at
they
other
can
people.
Say trash to each other. They can talk about how they're so much better, and I'm going to make things so great, and I'm going to be right. So the rescuer really comes off as, I'm here to solve it. I'm here to help. I'm the hero. Does that help?
Yeah,
Is that what
I think
you're
that
asking?
helps. I think, that helps kind of describe that. And I think what's important with that, when you play that role or you find yourself in that role, understanding just that's a hard role that you take on. Because there's an emotional toll that comes with that, right? There's that emotional toll of you're always on edge, you're anxious because well, are they going to come pick them up? They're not going to pick them up on time. They haven't checked the schedule of on the app, so they don't know when the game is, and they forgot their cleats, so I have to go get their cleats. And oh my God, it's cold in the morning, and they're not wearing their jacket. Where's their jacket?
Do you think that maybe rescuers should like say, hey, are you anxious a lot about this stuff with raising your kids? And you go, yeah, you're likely a rescuer. Do you think that is there a, what's the word we use for that? Is there a correlation?
I definitely think there could be a correlation
between high anxiety parent and rescuer behavior.
I think so. And I also think it comes from past trauma and fear, right? Because it's the fear-based. So I want more control. So I have to kind of be there. And that very quickly you can find yourself being what we call the helicopter parent, right? That's the term. You fall into that. And that's a stressful, tiring role to play.
Yeah, but it's funny. Do you suppose that this person who's rescuing probably did that in the marriage too?
I bet they felt that way. I bet they felt that I was the only one that tried. I was the one that called the couples therapist. I'm the one that, planned the date night. I would argue they probably did try. They were that person.
And the only reason I say that is in scenarios that I've had, it seems as if the parent who is doing the rescuing really states that that's been their role forever.
And I think because of that, the other parent, especially if it's a new modification or a new divorce, the other parent falls into that role because they've never had to check the school calendar or never had to check that. So they don't. So they rely on the other parent to do that. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that where they're like, well, I'm sending them the calendar and I'm sending them the softball schedule and I'm sending them the track schedule and the hockey schedule and the school play and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, do they have access to that? Well, yeah, it's on the thing. Okay, well, why are you doing that?
Well, because when they don't do it, the other parent typically comes and says, well, they don't give me access to, they're not letting me, they're not telling me when. And so they're afraid that's going to get used against them.
Right. And
because rescuers are anxious.
They're anxious about it. They're scared. They want to make sure everything is perfect.
I'm so glad you said that rescuers have a toll that's taken on them.
Absolutely.
I don't think they realize how much of a toll it takes to be a rescuer.
So it comes across like you were talking about, like I'm the guy to save you. I'm the hero. The problem with that is you end up becoming resentful, burnt out, frustrated, and very quickly it becomes hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And like we talked about in our conversation of hero and villains, that hurt then turns you into a villain.
Okay, you got to go through that again.
So again, right? If I'm constantly rescuing you, right? Hey, Michael, can you take this client for me real quickly? I got some stuff to do. Okay, you do it. Every time I ask you that, at a certain point, you're gonna get a little annoyed, maybe a little resentful.
Sure.
And be like,
why am I always doing this for Armando? Why is he always asking me?
Why am I always a person? I don't want to do that. I have my other stuff to do. And it becomes frustration. Then it becomes resentful. Then you get hurt because he doesn't appreciate me. He's doing all this other stuff. He's not doing his job. What's going on? And you become angry and hurt.
We're talking, you say that, and I know I had you repeat that. When you were going through, you start feeling this way, and when you said the word triggered something in me, when you said resentful,
mm-hmm.
There is something that I have learned that has happened in almost every single divorce case I've been a part of. The main, if I were to if I said, hey, I'm going to reach into this pot and I'm going to tell you all the ingredients that are in here for a divorce. Guess which one's coming out? Resent.
Oh, absolutely.
Resentment is the one that if I reach in every divorce case, I probably could find it in there. It's almost like, hey, people add garlic to everything. Maybe not everybody likes garlic, but you get the idea. Like, I love garlic.
Garlic's delicious. Add that to your food.
Yeah, exactly. But I think resentment is in almost every divorce. I don't think I've had one where I didn't see it, but I'm also counseling them.
I was going to say, we probably don't get the ones that don't have resentment. They probably don't make it to us.
So where do you think they end up?
They probably, it does happen. I have heard of it where the exes are best friends and they have parties and I have heard of that. So I don't see it, but
well, we don't get it in here.
We don't get it in here, but I do think that's possible. I think it's possible if there is not resentment and there is work being done individually, right? You don't fall into that trap of being resentful.
You almost don't have to rescue if you don't resent.
No, because there's nothing to rescue.
Armando, can I be honest and just tell you that I've had to listen to some of these podcasts. Maybe I'm one of the 1,000 listeners. I've had to listen.
So we're skewed.
We skewed it.
For everyone that Michael listens to, you got to listen to 2 more.
Okay, so I'm doing the podcast with you, but when I go back and listen, because I always like to just listen to it too, right? So I'm doing it, and then I go back and listen to it. And every time I do that, I learn something. And I'm sitting here with you right now learning things. But I have a feeling I'm going to go back and listen to this thing again, and I'm going to go, wait. I mean, it's going to happen. And it's so rich, the content. And so
there's a lot of good stuff.
Oh, I love it. And so let's get into, you mentioned the emotional toll. You mentioned some of the things of the frustrations, the resentments, the burnout. What should people learn to do? So
that comes back to what we were talking about in the question earlier, is step back, right? Really kind of think about, okay, what are my expectations for this, right? What are my expectations? Like, is my expectations to still, we're divorced, we're not together anymore. I always took care of the kids' practice, taking them, paying for the practices, doing those things. Is that still currently the expectation now that we're not together?
So should they have a conversation to clarify the expectations?
I think they should. I think that's where you have collaborative conversations of saying, hey, little Susie's on your time. On their time, they have practice on this day. How are you going to get little Susie? How can we ensure that little Susie makes it to practice on that time?
Yeah. Well, you know how we can do that, Armando? You can tell me that you're going to sign little Susie up. And you can let me know before you just make that decision on your own without me. Do you think that comes up?
That happens all the time.
And then the resentment goes.
Because it's about, then it turns, it's about the kid, right? But it's really, yes, it's about the kid, but it's not about the kid, because it's about you doing something without telling me. It's not fair.
Yeah, back to that. I just did an episode with Jen on fairness and holiday season stuff, and then I did one with her on how to fight fair. And
so, okay, hot take. I'm going to give the listeners as my hot take on the word fair. I don't think there's any such thing as fair. I don't think fairness exists.
Explain.
I think fair is what we agree is fair.
So we still have to agree.
Well, we have to come to an understanding of what's fair, because if we don't agree, then it's unfair. So if there's one Dr. Pepper left in the refrigerator, right?
It's got to be Dr. Pepper.
It's got to be Dr. Pepper, because we know, right? One Dr. Pepper left in the refrigerator. You bought it, but I love Dr. Pepper. And I worked so hard today, and I'm really thirsty. I'm going to appreciate that Dr. Pepper more than you will, but you bought it. My appreciation means that it's fair for me to drink that. And you know that I love Dr. Pepper and that I appreciate it.
Well, I bought it for me.
Yeah, but I'm going to appreciate it more. So it's fair that I get it.
But I paid for it.
But you're not going to appreciate it as much. So why would, it's going to go to waste to you?
I like it too. I bought it.
But not as much as I do.
And this is what you mean.
This is what we mean. It's fair if what we agree is fair, right? We agree that property matters, right? Well, you bought that's yours, that's property. It's because we agree that that's a standard that we have. That doesn't exist. Sorry, that's my philosophical take of fairness. So when I love it when kids come in my office or parents come in and they're like, that's not fair. I automatically be like, there's no such thing.
Do they receive that?
I think the kids do. Like, they'll sit there and think about it. And I tell them from the start that, they're like, it's not fair. Nobody's listening to me. Yeah, you're right.
The Brene Brown says that one of the greatest ways to basically get rid of your joy is to compare yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like, if you compare yourself to someone else, that's a good thief of joy right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the thief of joy is comparison. And I think what's interesting is, I think fairness has a layer of comparison into it.
Absolutely, because there's a desire of wanting to be equal, right? Because we're comparing. You're never going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
What I believe is fair, what you believe is fair, may not match. Mm-hmm. But unless we agree on it, then it is, and we call that fair.
And that's where kind of stepping back and having that discussion of, if we want are we aligned in little Susie playing t-ball, baseball, whatever? Okay, cool. How are we going to do that? Let's set the expectations up front and do that.
Got it.
And then once we do that, allow those boundaries to say, okay, Michael, it's Thursday night. You get to take little Susie. I'm going to relinquish my control a little bit here, my fear of you not being able to do that. I'm going to let you do that. I'm going to empower you to be that parent.
Is that the parent who's rescuing? You're saying that's what the rescuing parent should do.
The rescuing parent should step back and empower the other parent to be a parent to do those things.
But I'm terrified.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is how you do therapy.
Yeah, you are. Absolutely, you're terrified. You can't control. Because if you could, you would. Then why are you still married to them? Psychically, you're still married to them.
Wow. So you're literally divorced, but you're married because you're still doing the role probably that you did in the marriage.
I have definitely maybe sort of told people that before. Where I'm like, why are you still acting like you're married to them?
Oh, how do they receive that?
they look shocked and look at me, and then they're like, yeah, I guess I see what your point.
So are you asking the parent who does the rescuing to say you have to have enough courage to say if they fail, let them?
You do. And I think what you remember too is you focus on your consistency. You focus on what do you have control over. Again, when we talk about anxiety and we talk about clients that have, anxiety disorder or have some anxious tendencies, you can only control what you control. What's in your sphere of influence, and be okay with that. There's an acceptance to that.
There's an acceptance to it. Yep. You made a note here about focusing on kids, not the co-parent.
Yes.
What do you mean?
So that's where, again, you're focusing on what are we aligned for the child,
okay.
Right? If we agree that this child is going to play, what did I say? T-ball? Was that what I said? Softball?
I'd call it T-ball.
Soccer, whatever.
We'll call it
T-ball, right? If we agree that the kid's going to play T-ball, okay, then it's about the kid's T-ball schedule, right? It's not about how I feel about you. It's not about that I don't trust you to get them there. It's, they're going to play T-ball. I empower you and I trust you because it's about the kid to get the kid there. So I'm not going to rescue you and save you and call you at 9:05 saying, hey, it's 9 o'clock. They're not here. What, do I need to go pick them up? No, you let that. You make it about the kid. And it becomes a life lesson for the child also, for consistency. You allow the child to have that relationship with the other co-parent.
I've wondered sometimes, though, the rescuer might say something like, and you tell me, but the rescuer may say something like, I don't want my child to hate their other parent. I'm fearful that if they don't take them to the games or take them to the practice, or because little Susie really wants to do this. Not a real name, by the way.
No, I do not know. No.
Okay.
Little,
you want to call it Little Debbie?
Little Debbie?
No, we're not. Yeah. Okay. No, the point I'm making is I wonder if the rescuing parent says something like that. Says something like, I don't want our kiddo to hate their other parent. And I'm fearful that if they don't take them to their games or they don't get them to their sporting events, they're going to end up resenting their other parent. Maybe the way I resent them. If they say it that way, they don't usually say that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think I've ever had a parent say it.
Not like that. Not quite like that. But do you suppose that?
Oh, absolutely. I've heard that. And what I always say is, well, do you have control over their relationship with that other parent?
How do they respond to that?
But no. Okay. Whose relationship do you have control over? Mine and the kids? Okay.
It's almost like you're saying you don't have to rescue them and make them feel a certain way about another parent. Let the child make that determination.
You have to. You do that every day when you let them go into school. You don't let them, you don't intervene in their friendships. And if you do, back that off a little bit.
Yep. Well, let me give the rescuer parent something to consider. I have something that I think is really powerful. When I get kids that come in, and typically they're gatekeepers, right? So this is we've had that, okay, but typically gatekeepers, I have this conversation more with. The child knows a lot about both sides.
Yes.
Typically, like I know how my mom feels about my dad and how my dad feels about my mom. And just so you know, even if you don't really tell them, they can sense it. Even if I said to a kid, they go, well, they don't tell me. And I go, well, what do you think they feel? They still answer that question. They can sense it. So here's what I did to a kid once. I said, so if your dad were to share with you or you feel that dad really does not like your mom, okay, and tells you all about your mom, does your dad have the ability to tell you what kind of mom you have?
Mm-hmm.
And the kid usually goes, well, what do you mean? And I'll say, well, has your dad ever been parented by your mother? And they say no, just like you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Has your mother ever been parented by your father? And they say no. I said, so how do they know each other? What were they to each other? So, well, they were husband and wife, or they were boyfriend and girlfriend.
Boyfriend, partners,
whatever it may be. So they could tell you what kind of wife your mom was or what kind of husband your dad was. Do you have any intention of marrying either one of your parents?
There's a, oh, no.
It's exactly what they do. I said, do you really need to know what the other person's really like? Who gets to decide what kind of parent they are? And what do you think the kid says to that?
Me? Question mark.
Oh,
Always
they don't, I've not had him go, me. I've had him go, I do.
Oh, yeah, me being like I'm the kid. You're asking me.
Yeah, like you're the
I
kid.
Do, yeah.
Yeah, so if I were to ask you the kid, who gets to decide what kind of parent you have?
I do, me.
Just like that. It's more like, I do. So confident. And it's all of a sudden I've empowered that kid to go, your decision of who your parents are only comes from one place.
From you.
Bingo, because you're the one being parented by them.
Because you're the kid.
Like if I really want to know what kind of dad you have, I can just ask you. I want to know what kind of mom you have, I can just ask you. I don't need to ask your dad what kind of mom you have or ask your mom what kind of dad you have. That's a skewed view because there might be some resentment sprinkled in there.
There might be a little bit of resentment. There might
just
be
a little sprinkle.
Just a little bit of sprinkles.
Just a sprinkle. Just a little prickly sprinkle.
Yeah. I mean, and that does speak to how parents see the other one. And that's why they say, well, he didn't do this in the relationship, so I need to go save them.
Wow. Because it has an influence, doesn't it?
It has an influence. But that's not your job. That's their job. Your job is to model and be consistent for you and your child. And it's their job to be consistent and model it for them, or they don't.
I heard this from Dave Ramsey. He said that eagles build their nests with the thorns poking inward.
Interesting.
What do you think about that? So, baby birds in a nest, eagles will build their nest, and thorns in the nest are poking into the nest. Why would a bird do that?
I don't know.
Well,
I'm going to go look this up later to see.
I think you should. And like I said, it didn't come from me, but I heard that eagles build their nest with thorns poking inward. So that would mean that when the baby bird gets bigger in the nest, eventually what's going to happen to it?
Oh, they're going to poke against the thorn, and they're going to have to...
They're going to have to do what?
They're going to have to fly. They're going to have to get out of there.
What are eagles meant to do?
Soar, fly.
What are our kids meant to do?
Grow, leave, soar.
That's what I think the rescuing parent has to hear. Your kids are meant to grow and become independent of you. If you rescue them all the time, they cannot become independent of you. They will develop codependency.
Yep. And they will. They'll get enmeshed. They'll be a part of that. And you may not even know that that's part of it.
Well, it's hard because when you tell the rescuing parent that, they think like, oh my gosh, they villainize us. Because we're trying to tell them like, hey, we see that this can become a huge issue later. We're not saying we don't understand why. You can tell me why you're doing it. I probably will agree with you. That's hard. I get why you want to do that.
Because you want to protect your child, right? You want you want them. You want to be protective. You want to make sure they're okay. There's nothing wrong with that,
right?
But you also have to let them experience the world.
Yes, or experience their other parent,
which
is part of their world. Because you know what's funny is when you divorced, and you guys split apart, you got to not necessarily get away, but you got to go create a life absent that parent. That child still has to learn how to work with that parent.
Yep, when they go over there.
So when you rescue, you impede their ability to learn how to navigate that parent, don't you think?
No, absolutely. I was talking to Janan the other day, and we were having a discussion, and she said, it's like the other parent forgets that this other person is also that kid's parent.
Say that again so they hear that.
So that the one parent, parent A, forgets that parent B is also a parent to that child. And part of parenting is taking those responsibilities of getting them to t-ball practice, making sure they take their medication when they're sick, making sure they get to school on time.
Right. Gosh, you got to remember that. You're a parent. So is the other one.
I was a parent too.
And then you sit and compare yourself. They're a worse parent than I am. Or they're a better. As soon as you do that.
They parent differently. I don't know how many times somebody has asked me, I've had an attorney ask me, and I'm like, well, they just have a different parenting style.
How many styles are there?
Oh, there's a bunch, but there's a specific number. I think I don't know it depends on what your modality is in terms of.
Well, and here's what I'm going to say something because I've seen people shift through them, but I know that in our psychological field they broke it down to like four styles.
Rough, yeah, the four rough styles. Yeah.
I don't think we've gone over that in the podcast yet, have we? The four parenting styles.
I don't think we have. I haven't.
I think we should break it all down. I mean, it's like you guys are getting a psychological lesson like what you could in a psychology, but I still think that it might help to break it down. So I don't know, just a thought.
No, there's an idea.
Going into this real quick, supportive attitude in front of the kids. What is this?
So that's again, whenever there is a disagreement or there is a discussion, you remember that we're aligned and we're being supportive in front of the child, right? Children just want peace. They just want their parents to get along.
So what is a rescuing parent? How does a rescuing parent come off as supportive in a situation?
That's where you have that dialogue with that other co-parent, right? And you do that through whatever communications you're going to do it through, but you don't make it seem like that.
The other co-parent doesn't talk to me. That's why I have to rescue them.
I'm
just giving you...
No, and that's what I say. That's where you do your best to kind of say this, and you let the thorns kind of hit the baby bird there a little bit.
There it is. Let the poke, right?
Let it happen.
Safety is the only, in my opinion.
Yes, that's different.
A rescue, truthfully, is safety.
Mm-hmm.
Did Superman go to every call?
I don't think depends on who's writing him, but that's sorry.
Hold on. Where was Superman?
Where he needed to be?
Not necessarily. Where was he mainly at?
Oh, he's mainly in Metropolis. I see what you're saying. I'm there.
He's in Metropolis.
I mean, he's in Metropolis. Yeah.
So he would serve Metropolis. Mm-hmm. But do you know in the comics, what's right next door to Metropolis?
Gotham.
He doesn't end up in Gotham?
They don't want him there. They got their own person. But to that point...
But he didn't like that rescuer, and he didn't like him.
He didn't, but he learned to work together when they had to.
Man, if we would have done that in the episode of Hero and Villains and just talked about that story of how they're both heroes, but they were both villains to each other.
Yeah.
Dude, that's that'd have been good. But there you go. That's a great example.
You can go back and listen, listeners, and kind of interject that where you think it goes.
There you go. That's right.
But I think, no. But I think to your point, it's a matter of letting them understand that, like, okay, I'm supportive. The goal is T-ball, or the goal is this. This is what we're aligned in. And if the thorns hit, that's a consequence. It's a natural consequence.
Right. So I'm going to use our papers and our cup as an example.
Okay.
So here's one parent. We have our feelings. We have our stuff. Maybe the resentment's built in there. Like I said, in most cases, it always is. So here's that pin that represents the resentment, the back and forth between us.
Mm-hmm.
This represents our child right here. And what you're saying is, this child is playing T-ball. It doesn't matter what I feel about you.
Right.
That doesn't matter. The goal is, how do we do T-ball?
How do we get T-ball for this child?
Do T-ball. Because guess what? The resentment's still going to be there. That's not going to go away just because he did T-ball. I mean, that's what I'm saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying on this?
No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
So what you're saying to the rescuers, if this person is not doing their part for T-ball over here, you're not going to rescue them to be parent of the year to do T-ball because it's going to affect the kid. You're going to say, you get to be a parent just like I get to be a parent. Mm-hmm. And if you choose to fail, you get to choose that.
That's your relationship with the child gets to, when the child asks, parent A, how come parent B didn't take me to T-ball? I don't know. Have you asked parent B?
Well, they said because you signed me up without asking them.
Well, and that's where he's like, well, let me verify with them. So there's a confusion there. Let me have a conversation with them.
You know what I tell parents? Tell them the truth. Kid's asking you, well, they said this. And you go, that's true. I didn't ask them. I just signed you up because I knew it's what you want to do.
I think if it's about you, you can answer that.
Say that again, because I want them to hear this.
Yeah, if it's about you, you can answer it, right? If it's about...
Yes.
If it's about the other parent...
Send them to the other parent.
Don't send them to the other parent. They don't...
Dude, you know what I used to... I do it all the time. If you're in school, kiddo, and you have a math problem, and you go ask your science teacher about your math problem, what are they going to tell you?
Go ask the math teacher?
Yeah. So if you're going to ask your mom about dad issues, she shouldn't be answering those. She should send you back to your dad.
Well,
it goes both ways, though.
It goes, why are you calling the plumber when it's an electrical issue? Call the electrician.
Orale. That's true.
I mean,
because they said they can do it. The plumber said they could do electrical work.
They're not licensed. Do not.
Someone's getting shocked.
Do not. Not with water and electric. Oh my God. Anyways,
isn't that bad?
That's funny.
It's horrible. That's a good one, though.
Because I know somebody like that, too. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's so funny. Okay. Armando, I didn't write a lot of notes, man. I was just really getting into it with you. But what are some of the takeaways that you hope the listeners take from this? Just a quick recap.
Yeah, I hope that they step back, right? They recognize their own boundaries.
Step back.
Step
Everyone.
back.
Step back.
Step back,
Okay.
right? And it's okay for the kid to feel the thorns, right? It's okay for the baby bird to feel the thorns a little bit.
Yeah, that's how they fly.
That's how they fly. And again, you're empowering. It's almost a changing of mindset of you're empowering your co-parent to be the parent.
Oh, gosh, I hope rescuers hear this.
Right? And sometimes, why do we fall? So we learn how to pick ourselves back up.
I thought that was Batman.
That's Batman. I stole that from Batman. That's like Chris Nolan.
Yeah. It's almost like you're going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to let them. As long as it doesn't impede the safety of your child.
As long as safety, they're fine. They're okay.
Yes. Yeah. Now your kid can learn to fly.
Mm-hmm.
So good. What else?
No, I think that's kind of it, unless I missed anything.
Oh no, I just think that's just great. That's perfect. And let me say, can I just say this? It is so hard to do, rescuers.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, I don't want to make it seem like, oh yeah, just do this. No, it's hard.
No, I'm gonna say. I think we need to say it like you need to do this. You need to hear this.
But it's
however,
hard. Yeah.
It's hard.
Mm-hmm. Especially because, again, you love your kid. Nobody wants your child to be disappointed.
So do you think when the rescue doesn't rescue, it means they don't love their kid?
I think they think that sometimes.
So what should they think instead?
I'm allowing my child to experience the world.
I love you enough to let you fall so you can learn.
So you can learn.
To pick yourself. Okay, I got to do this real quick before we finish. Did you ever see the movie Ray?
No.
Okay, so in the movie Ray, there's this scene where Ray Charles, as a child, okay, he starts to, he develops that little eye issue where he starts not being able to see. He's going blind. And so the mom is just heartbroken that Ray can't see and is blind. And she tells her son, you're going to have to learn to navigate the world basically in the dark. Because she doesn't know how to do it. She's not blind. But she knows that he has to learn how to do it. She doesn't know how to help him do it. All she knows is he's going to struggle. So there's a scene in the movie where he runs into the house and he falls down. Now, he's blind at this point. He yells out to his mom. Mom! Mom! He's hurting. And she starts to go toward him and she stops. You know why?
Because you got to learn to do it.
He's got to learn to pick himself up.
He's got to learn to pick himself up.
He's got to learn how to navigate the world. He can't see. And in that scene, there's a cricket, and he starts hearing the cricket. So he starts walking his way over to the cricket. He catches the cricket, blind.
Blind, okay.
And he goes over to his mom, and he goes, Mom, is that... He now can hear his mom. And he's trying to show his mom the cricket he caught. And she starts crying because she starts to realize when I didn't rescue him, he rescued himself.
Was able to do it.
And look who Ray Charles became.
Yeah.
I mean, I think rescuers need to understand, it'll be one of the hardest things you're going to do. But the payoff, the investment of going, I have to let you understand, I have to let it happen, I have to let the thorn poke you. It is the greatest gift you might be able to give your child someday when you can't be here for them.
Because they still have all the lessons.
That's correct. And that's the teacher, isn't it?
Yep.
Oh, man, I got deep quick, boy. Did you want to say anything else on that?
No, I think that's a good example of what we're talking about, of letting them learn.
Well, I'm going to encourage people, if you haven't seen the movie Ray, go at least try to find that scene where Ray Charles falls down and mom is coming to rescue him, and she has to allow him to navigate his way through it. He's yelling out to his mom. You can tell she's just heartbroken because she wants to help him so bad, but she knows she can't.
I'm going to have to...
Oh, dude, it's such a great scene.
I think I saw that movie once whenever it first came out, which was
maybe we'll do a B-roll on our video. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I act like we know how to do that.
No. When you're done watching this on YouTube,
yes,
you can look. But after you're done,
then you can type in YouTube this scene and you can watch what I'm talking about. Okay. Awesome deal. Thank you for the recap. Please follow us on Instagram at Brighter Possibilities FC and Facebook at Brighter Possibilities Family Counseling. We're just honored you're here. Please send us more questions. Please like it, subscribe. Just get here so we can get to you. We would love to help you. That's what we do. We literally help people. How many years have we been doing this now? I mean, you've been doing this.
I mean, counseling stuff, I've been doing it for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, if you include the social work kind of component I did before.
Well, I was thinking about that too. If I do that stuff before,
How much?
It was
just range.
What? 13, 14. What year are we in? 24?
We're in 24, bro.
So since what? 09? How long is that?
You've been doing it since 09.
Roughly, yeah. How long is that? I don't know how many. Math.
I've been doing it since 05.
Well, there you go. That's because you're a little older than me.
I'm a little older. Hey, what's up, dude? No, I'm kidding. Okay, well, hold on. 09, we're in 24, going into 25. So you basically say 14 years?
14 years, roughly.
Okay, so 14 for you.
Yeah.
If you include my stuff from 2005, we're about 220. That's 20 years for me.
No, there you go. Yeah.
So what is that between us? Almost 35 years?
35 years.
Of doing this work with families and kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm proud of us, and boy, do we got some stuff to tell you. And I hope that people can hear it. And if there's something that conflicted you or confused you, man, just send your questions in.
Please.
We're going to answer questions.
Please.
We want to start doing that. We want to start interacting with you more. So
please.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, thank
Love
everybody.
You guys. Yeah. Keep moving forward.